to introduce us, Karen was just saying, Nicola Pearce, who's the Director of Environment and Regeneration within the Council.
Thank you, everyone, and as Karen said, thank you ever so much for taking the time out of your busy diaries to set aside the afternoon to come here and to listen to what is not only being delivered under the Swansea Bay City deal, but also what's being delivered locally. And despite the sort of negative news that seems to hit the press all the time, there's lots of opportunities available to us, and we need to grab those opportunities while we can. So I'm just going to run through an overview of the strategic position we're in, how we can make the most of that position, the opportunities that are coming our way, what challenges we have, the strengths that we have that we need to take advantage of, and how we, if we all work together, we can deliver those opportunities and try and build upon the economy that we have in and around Neath Port Talbot. So I am not very good with technology, so I do apologise if I press the wrong button. So if we focus on the opportunities first of all, and not to worry the organisers of this event today, there's a couple of slides to come, but I'm going to focus a lot of my time on this slide because this is probably what you're more interested in. And I know we've listed a couple of different projects there, but it would be remiss of me not to mention the Swansea Bay City deal. All of the project leads for each of the projects throughout the region are present in the building today. You've probably spoken to many of them when you walked into the room. They're more than happy to go through their individual projects with you, how they can benefit you in terms of what opportunities you have to either link into the projects or to deliver part of the projects. I'm going to shamelessly name check the projects that are being delivered by Neath Port Talbot. So there's the Homes as Power Stations project, or HAPS for short. We did try to change that name several times, but it's stuck like glue and it's with us still. And what the HAPS project is hoping to achieve is to decarbonise and secure energy efficient homes, not just in terms of the existing housing stock, but new housing stock, so that we are delivering for future generations, driving down poverty and driving down our carbon footprint as well. We've also got the Supporting Innovation and Low Carbon Growth Programme, which is 7 interlinked projects, some of which are in delivery, some of which are operational. The Technology Centre being one of them, which is on the Baglan Energy Park. That is an energy positive building and has won a number of awards and provides space for office and laboratory functions, and is accommodating a number of different businesses spun out from the university, and is also currently currently the focus of the high value manufacturing catapult, who is setting up a digital factory opportunity in there, which again can benefit the wider economy. So those are 2 of our Swansea Bay City Deal projects. I'm not going to talk about them anymore because I know that a subsequent speaker will concentrate on them in a lot more detail than I can. So if we go to the first project on the list, the Celtic Freeport, we have spent a considerable amount of our time bidding for the Freeport. We were a number of bidders within Wales who took the opportunity to put forward a very detailed bid document, and we were lucky enough to secure a successful outcome. There were 2 projects that were successful in Wales. There was the Celtic Freeport, which is a combination of 4 partners, Neath Port Talbot Council, Pembrokeshire Council, the Milford Haven Port Authority and Associated British Ports, who run and operate the port at Port Talbot. It is operated under the umbrella name of the Celtic Freeport, and it is modelled to deliver 16,000 jobs across the 2 sites within South Wales, and could be a game changer for us in terms of enabling the evolution of our supply chain, creating jobs, creating investment, and enabling us to diversify to a green economy. The Celtic Freeport will not only provide tax incentives for the organisations operating within the tax sites, but it'll also enable the local authorities within those tax site areas to retain the non-domestic rates that are generated within the Freeport area for a period of 25 years. That amounts to about £500 million, which is money we've never ever had available to us. And what we propose to do with that funding is to reinvest it within the economy in terms of direct infrastructure, soft infrastructure and business development to ensure that not only the businesses that are immediately accommodated within the Freeport have the benefit of those tax incentives, but we're also able to invest the funding from that to grow the surrounding economy that complements the Freeport and the Freeport is reliant upon in order to make a sustainable economy successful. As I indicated, there are 16,000 jobs associated with it, and we are currently responding to questions to the outline business case, which we submitted before Christmas of last year, and we're also working on the full business case, which is a feat in itself. The next project is the TATA project. Karen has touched on this briefly, and I'll only mention it in passing. In the press, unfortunately, is being given a negative sort of headlines, but it could be an opportunity for us to diversify our economy and to build alternative businesses to support our local communities. We are, as Karen said, developing a local economic action plan, and we are hoping to present that to the Transition Board in April or later this month, with a view to drawing down up to £100 million of funding in the short term. I say in the short term because we have made it very clear to UK government and Welsh government that we need more funding in order to grow the economy in and around Neath Port Talbot, and that message has been delivered loud and clear and has been acknowledged by the government. So we will be putting plans in place to try and secure additional funding going forward to ensure that we have a sustainable, strong economy in and around Neath Port Talbot. So moving on to the Celtic Sea and the flow opportunity. For those of you who don't know flow, it's floating offshore wind, and the business case associated with the Celtic Freeport was effectively based on the opportunities associated with floating offshore wind, as well as high-value manufacturing. Now, we see this as a unique opportunity to maximise local content and create a sustainable local supply chain. In the autumn statement, the Chancellor announced that there would be up to 16 gigawatts of power available from the Celtic seabed. The Crown Estate have recently launched an auction round to develop 3 distinct areas to generate 4.5 gigawatts of power. Developers are currently working with ports who are best placed to deliver the opportunities associated with the Celtic seabed, and as part of that process they will be required to develop a social value plan, and in those plans they will have to identify how they can invest in local content, i.e. the local community and local businesses such as yourself. They've had to indicate it forming part of the social value plans because of subsidy control issues, so they couldn't direct developers to invest in the local economy, but they are indirectly requiring them to do so via the social value plans. Now, the process will hopefully give us an outcome in Q1 of 2025 when we know which developers have been successful in that auction round and what their plans are for investment in the area. The Crown Estate has also recently published a supply chain blueprint which identifies the minimum infrastructure which will be required to deliver the 4.5 gigawatts of power. So it goes down into the kilometres of change, the amount of towers required in the wind turbine structures themselves, the nacelles, etc., even down to the number of poke boats that will be required to deploy the structures out into the sea, and then to manage the maintenance and operation of those structures when they are up and running and operational. So they've indicated that blueprint and they've launched that. So that is a public document already, and that will inform what supply chain opportunities there are there for local businesses. What they've also indicated is that they will be launching supply chain accelerator grants very shortly. And we've questioned them on that as close as yesterday to find out how much money is going to be available, when it's going to be available, and what businesses will it be targeted towards. They have indicated that they are not yet ready to provide us with that level of detail, but as soon as they are, they will be in touch with us and we will organise for them to attend an event such as this, where they can link up with businesses, indicate how you can get access to that funding, and if you can't get access to it at the moment, how you can diversify your interests to ensure that you do get access to it in the future. Now, this is critically important for us because we need to maximise the local content associated with floating offshore wind so that we actually grow the local economy as opposed to benefiting businesses located in other parts of the world, which has been the case in relation to the onshore wind farms that you see when you look out of the window. So moving on to the development of port facilities, as I indicated earlier on, ABP, who own and operate the port at Port Talbot, is one of our partners in terms of the Celtic Free Port. Now, we take for granted the port that we have on our doorstep, but it is quite unique, and it's one of very few deep ports in the UK, and it provides the deepest berthing facilities for the Severn Estuary and is a great opportunity to enable us, as I said earlier, to get access to the Celtic Sea and get access to the markets to diversify our green economy. Within the last couple of weeks, and it has been published in the press, the UK announced that the port at Port Talbot was one of only 2 ports in the UK who would be going through to the next stages of the Floating Offshore Wind Manufacturing Investment Scheme, or FLOMIS for short. Now, this is a huge opportunity for the area, and there are significant sums of money available as part of FLOMIS. And this funding will contribute towards the £500 million worth of funding that ABP have identified to deliver the vision that they have for the port. And if you've not seen the vision that they have and they're intending to deliver, I would urge you to go onto their website, where they've got a video showing how they're going to transform the port, how they can maximise the opportunities in the Celtic Sea, and how that will benefit the local supply chain as well. So it's definitely worth looking at. As I said, that £500 million of investment is a huge amount of money, and it will give us the first mover advantage to secure the benefits associated with flow and the green economy in general. In terms of the electric arc furnace, again, that relates to TAPTA, and there are opportunities not only to construct that electric arc furnace, but also all the components that are required to support that transition to low-carbon steel manufacturing, as well as decommissioning the heavy end of the plant, which is starting to close down. These are opportunities for us because we have the skills within the local supply chain, within the existing workforce, that we don't want to lose. So we can utilise the construction opportunities that are available for us to plug the gap between the position that we're in at the moment and the longer term job opportunities and investment that we see in the future. So we need to focus on that and work with TAPTA and the companies that are supporting TAPTA so we can ensure that we maximise those benefits. Moving on to the LanzaTech scheme, you may well have heard about this in the press as well. This is a company that we've been working with for a number of years. We actually supported them in terms of securing the feasibility funding from the Department for Transport in UK government a number of years ago. And we've been working with them ever since. More recently, in March of this year, we granted them full planning permission to develop their plant down on the port facilities at Port Talbot. And this plant will utilise waste gases from industrial operations to generate ethanol, which will then be used to generate aviation fuel. So it's basically using the waste gases that are pushing up our carbon footprint to develop sustainable fuels for the future, and is definitely one to watch going forward. Not only will that help us to capture the carbon and utilise it for alternative purposes, but it will also create significant numbers of high-value jobs within the local economy, as well as providing jobs within the associated supply chain. Moving on to the GCRE, or the Global Centre for Rail Excellence. This is a development located up in the top of the Dilys Valley. It is a site currently occupied by a former open cast coal site and the associated washery. It straddles the boundaries between Neath Port Talbot and Powys, and it is proposed to develop a rail testing track up in this area, the likes of which we don't have in the UK at present. At the moment, we're having to ship our rolling stock and trains over to the continent for testing in Europe before they're allowed on the main line in the UK, which seems to be rather expensive and a non-sustainable way of operating our public transport network. This investment will ensure that we're able to not only cover the domestic market, but also offer another opportunity to companies who are currently operating in Europe to test their tracks and their rolling stock within the UK. The UK government and Welsh government have invested significant sums of money in getting the project this far. There's funding available to develop the track infrastructure and restore and create the landform. And they're also currently negotiating additional funding from the private sector to deliver the wider ambitions associated with the business park development that they propose to deliver alongside testing track. They're in discussions with a number of Welsh and English universities who will lead on the research associated with this project to try and ensure that it not only delivers this ambition, but also delivers more over a longer term. Turning to the last project on the list, you've got the Wild Fox development, which is located within the Avon Valley. This is an adventure stroke adrenaline-focused holiday destination, which has sort of been described by many as centre parks on steroids. And it's sort of focusing not just on the younger children. You know, I took my children to centre parks when they were very, very young, and they were walking through muddy puddles, doing art and things. You know, you get to the point where you're about 8 or 9 and that doesn't interest you anymore. So they focus in on the older market, not just older children, but adults as well. And they've taken advantage of the natural assets we've got in the surrounding area. As you know, we've got the opportunity in the mountains for mountain biking, we've got gorge walking and so on. So we've got fantastic natural assets in and around Neath Port Talbot they're looking to harness and grow on that. Now, they've already utilised £20 million worth of funding to get to the position they're in at the moment, and they're in advanced, mature discussions with the private sector to secure the remaining funding. And the jobs associated with that will be about 1,000 jobs during the construction phase and about 1,000 jobs during the operational phase. So these are not figures to be sniffed at, and could be a game changer in our valley communities. That and the GCRE, as I say, are located within our valley communities where there has been very little investment in the past. So these are really exciting times for us, and they are trying to engage with local businesses to ensure that there is local content within that development. As I've said earlier on, I've focused on this quite a bit, and I appreciate that I'm very time limited, and Brett is staring at me, telling me to hurry up. So I'm literally going to whiz through the next few slides. So as I've said, there are lots of opportunities, and those opportunities can be maximised due to the strengths that we have. We've got a number of strategic sites within and around Neath Port Talbot, which are brownfield in nature, and are currently lying disused. And we have a huge opportunity to reutilise those sites and maximise the connectivity they have, given their historical use for business purposes. We've also got a strong history of manufacturing and engineering within this area and the associated skills from those legacy industries. And we need to ensure that we utilise those skills in the evolving economy which we're trying to support and deliver, so that we don't lose that skilled workforce to other parts of the country, because when it's gone, it's gone. It's going to be very difficult for us to get back. So we need to ensure that we retain and build upon that skilled workforce. Manufacturing. We've got a strong heritage and legacy of manufacturing within Neath Port Talbot. 20% of our economy is based on manufacturing. This compares to about 10% in the UK, 17% in Wales. So we have been sort of punching above our weight in terms of delivering the manufacturing opportunities associated with the country. And as I say, it's one of the biggest contributors to our economy in terms of output. I read in the Times on the weekend that manufacturing is on the rebound, and there has been a greater focus on the importance of manufacturing as part of the economy by the government. And I think it's been identified in terms of other areas where manufacturing has declined, that it has been replaced by the service sector, and the quality of jobs and the salaries associated with the service sector do not compare with the salaries associated with the manufacturing sector. So we do need to concentrate on that area and support its growth going forward, because it is important to ensure that we address poverty, which unfortunately we're still having to deal with. So in terms of centres of excellence, we have a number of world-class centres of excellence within Neath Port Talbot, and we're growing more. So we have the Steels and Metals Institute, which is based out in Swansea University, and we are hoping to improve and grow that opportunity via the South Wales Industrial Transition from Carbon Hub, which is another City Deal project that we are delivering within the Harbourside area of Port Talbot. We also have the TWI Technology Centre, again in Port Talbot, specific within Swansea University, the Wales Centre for Advanced Batch Manufacturing, and the University of South Wales Hydrogen Centre. And as I mentioned earlier on, the High Value Manufacturing Catapult is also establishing a facility within the Technology Centre, and that is aimed at supporting our small and medium enterprises within Neath Port Talbot. What we're also very good at is collaborating. We've had a number of organisations come down to Neath Port Talbot over the years. So we've had the Climate Change Committee came down, and the Infrastructure Commission came down to meet us. And they indicated that they were really impressed with the way that local government, central government, the academic organisations and the business community all work together to deliver our shared ambitions. And they indicated we should not take that for granted. We do, because that's the way we've always operated, but we shouldn't take it for granted because it's unusual and it doesn't happen everywhere. And I think it just supports the fact that if we all work together, we can deliver our ambitions much quicker. In terms of the challenges going forward, so we've got lots of opportunities, we've got lots of strengths, but unfortunately we've got a number of challenges that we have to address. We need to decarbonise our industrial economy, and the TACTA transition is one such project which has unintended consequences, and we need to ensure that we put in the infrastructure in place to address and mitigate those unintended consequences. We also need to diversify the economy to create a business environment that fosters high-value growth, creates sticky supply chains that adapt to our evolving economy, that support the development of better quality, higher-paid jobs. We need to attract new investment and help local businesses find and enter new markets. And we need to reduce the risk of being dependent on a limited number of sectors and customers. So we have been dependent on a limited number in the past, and obviously that has consequences when there is disruption in the market. So we need to ensure that we deliver those requirements, and we also need to address the fact that there are high costs associated with developing some of our major sites. So whilst they present an opportunity, the risks associated with developing them in terms of the investment required is quite significant. So focusing on land remediation, which is one of the biggest risks, we've got a lot of land within Neath Port Talbot that you look at and you think, why hasn't that been developed? We've got lots of land down the harbourside area, we've got the Baglan Energy Park, to name just 2 sites on our coastal corridor. They're flat, they are serviced by infrastructure in terms of the M4, the main Swansea to Paddington railway line, the port infrastructure. So why wouldn't we develop there? Why haven't we developed there? And unfortunately, it's land remediation. The legacy industries that have occupied those areas in the past have left behind a negative legacy in terms of land contamination. That is an issue which we are dealing with at the moment and trying to establish the extent of that contamination and trying to develop plans to mitigate it. We're also, unfortunately, subject to flooding, either from the sea or from fluvial flooding, and we are working with NRW and private organisations who are specialists in this area to develop a mitigation plan to ensure that that land can come forward. Another gap is the skills base. As I said, we've got a very, very highly skilled workforce in the area, but we need to keep working on that workforce to ensure that it transitions and develops the skills we need going forward to address our evolving economy. We are also trying to deliver a lot of other opportunities within this area. So we're focusing on business support to ensure that you come with us on that journey. So you'll have seen some of the stalls out in the foyer earlier on, which identifies all the projects we're delivering under the Shared Prosperity Fund. And we're supporting businesses through that process, and we're undertaking significant investment to ensure that we're delivering that ambition across the county borough. I know I've spoken a lot about the Talbot Coastal Corridor today, but the Shared Prosperity Fund is supporting businesses across the county borough. And we hope that with those interventions that we can make a real difference, and we can secure private sector investment as a consequence of that. And also support the supply chain capability and enable you to transition with us. In terms of looking forward, as I've the message that I've tried to give is that we are stronger working together. We've got lots of opportunities available to us. We need to build upon our strengths and take those challenges together. And by working together and securing that investment, not just from the public sector, but from the private sector, we've got half a chance of really changing the fortunes of Neath Port Talbot and the wider region. And despite the uncertainty of public sector funding, I want to assure you that we are focusing as an authority on building our capacity in terms of economic development and regeneration, because that is one of the ways in which we can transform the business community. And if we can transform the business community in Neath Port Talbot, we can hopefully transform the fortunes of the people living and working in Neath Port Talbot. So I will stop there before I get glared at even more by my colleague Brett. So I hope that gives you a flavour of what's going on. I could have talked for hours, but I was under strict instructions. But we'll all be around for the rest of the afternoon if anybody wants any additional information, and we will support you through business forums and connecting you up with these opportunities going forward as best we can. So thank you very much.